The final functionality to go through before we move into visual effects is transitions like dissolves and wipes. Use the up and down arrow keyboard shortcuts to navigate a cut. And ensure the focus point is positioned over a cut on a specific track. A point to remember is that smoke is sensitive to selection. Please ensure nothing is selected in the sequence. You can deselect everything by clicking in the region below the audio tracks or press Shift-Command-A. The menu bar above the sequence will give you an indication whether or not something is selected. All you should see is the outgoing and incoming frame at the cut point, as well as the transition button becoming enabled. To add a dissolve to this cut, you can do this in a number of ways. Click on the transition button. This will bring up the transition ribbon to choose the effect. Or you can right-click on the cut and choose a transition through the pop-up menu. Finally, you can press Command-T to quickly add a dissolve to the cut. The dissolve is only added to a track aligned with the focus point. If you want to add dissolves across multiple tracks, press Shift-Command-T. This will add dissolves across all the aligned video and audio tracks. I'll press Command-Z to undo the last operation so we can focus on the single dissolve. The first thing I'd like to mention is that the default duration of the dissolve is 10 frames. This default duration can be modified in the Preferences menu. You can access the preferences via the top menu or press Command-Comma. Looking at the timeline options, you will find the settings for the transition's default duration. Let's get back to the sequence. Now looking at the effects toolbar above the sequence, you will see information about the selected transition. So you can choose whether your dissolve is centered on the cut, starts from the cut, or ends up to the cut. You can also set a custom position over the cut. You can set the dissolve duration numerically, or click and drag the slider value. And you can also trim the edges of the transition when you're in trim mode. The next option sets the type of transition where an additive mix creates the standard cross dissolve. And finally, you can dip to any color by choosing the last option. There are a number of ways to remove transitions in the sequence. You can select it in the effects toolbar or in the sequence and press backspace to delete it. Or you can gesturally drag the transition to the bottom of the screen to delete it. I'm sure you'll find your favorite. The next transition I want to cover is the wipe. As before, click the transition button and choose the wipe. In the effects toolbar, you will find a pull-down menu to access a variety of controls. Starting off with the transition options, the settings are the same as the dissolve for the duration and start point. Looking back at the pull-down menu, the general setting can invert and control the opacity of the wipe. The softness setting gives you control over the edges feathering. And finally, the axis offset setting can help reposition the wipe. These are all quick menus to adjust the most common settings. Now the wipes in Autodesk Smoke are based on the standard SMPTE patterns. With that said, there are a variety of presets you can choose from. Next to the Presets button, click the small arrow and the preset list will appear. You can make your choice and Smoke will prompt you to replace the wipe. If you'd rather see thumbnails of the wipes before you make your choice, click the Presets button. This will take you into the file browser where you can scroll through the various patterns. To display the patterns as proxies rather than titles, click the Proxies button in the top left-hand corner of the screen. You can now scroll through the patterns and choose the most applicable. If you want to have more control over the wipe beyond the quick menus, click the Editor button to enter the wipe editor. So looking at these options, the wipes are actually vector masks that you can grab and animate. You can even create your own ones from scratch. The final choice you have for transitions is the Action Transition. When you choose this option, you are using the Action 3D Compositor to create a transition effect. The creativity you have is almost endless. Just clicking on the pull-down menu, you will see that you have access to camera, lighting, and rendering settings, to name a few. Everything can be customized and built to your creative demands. Action is vast, and this tool will be covered in later videos. But to get you started, you can click on the small arrow next to the Presets button and choose from a list of presets. As before, clicking the Presets button will take you to the file browser. Here you can move through the folders and see the proxies of the supplied presets. These are a great starting point, and you can always venture into the advanced editor to customize things to your taste. So this concludes transitions. Next up, the timeline effects tools. Please move on to the next video to continue your smoke getting started experience.